everybody, and thanks for joining us for another week of the Rec Poker Podcast. If you don't know what Rec Poker is all about, we're a free community of people that like to learn the game together, support each other, rail each other. So come learn, play, belong, find your rail. Most of what we do is completely free. Go to rec.poker and sign up for a community account. All it takes is an email and a smile. So I'm your host, Jim Reed, Bluffstorini in the home game, and I'd like to thank our sponsors, Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino, and website Amped. And if you want to learn more about me, you can go to rec.poker/crew, because that's where we have information about all the members of the Wrecking Crew. Or you could just listen to them and find out from the horse's mouth themselves. Crew members, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself to Rec Poker Nation?
Well, I'm Chris Jones. You can find me on 5B5 on Twitter or 5x5 on PokerStars.
And I am John Somsky, and I am known as Poker Geek MN everywhere. And luckily, I was grandfathered in before the smile requirement was added for Rec Poker.
I'm Rob Washam, and I'm Rabman50 just about everywhere. And I tend to try to smile no matter what. So sorry, John.
It's true. We are a pretty smile-friendly group over here at Rec Poker. So every week we invite a new guest onto the show. I'm very excited to be talking to the one and only Chad McVean this week. So if you've listened to the show before, you know Chad. If you're on Twitter, you know Chad. If you're involved in the world of poker, you probably know Chad McVean. But you haven't gotten to know him like you're going to today. So I'm really excited to welcome Chad to the show. Chad, you're here. I know you've appeared on the show before, but now you're our official guest. I can't wait to let Rec Poker Nation know more about you. Thanks for coming.
No problem. Glad to be here.
So you've been called many things in your life. The king of poker Twitter is on the list, and I know poker podcasts specifically hold a place that's near and dear to your heart. Why don't we talk a little bit? I want to get to know you more personally, but first we just gotta talk about the elephant in the room. How did you ascend to such greatness in the world of poker podcasts and poker podcast Twitter? What drew you to it, and what do you credit your crown?
Well, there's one day I was cutting the lawn, and I'm like, I need something to listen to. What are these podcasts people talk about? Downloaded a podcast. I believe the first one I listened to was a Poker News with Remco and Donnie and Rich Ryan. And I was like, oh, you mean I could listen and learn about poker while I'm cutting the lawn? Ooh.
Yep.
So, and it just went from there. And I just found more and more and more, weeded some out that I really didn't get much from or didn't like. And it grew from there. And then the one thing they're always saying is, share, rate, whatever, because they need to get more people listening, because nobody makes money doing a poker podcast.
Right.
So
and confirm.
Most people are either have coaching, selling a product, or have advertisements on it. So how do they make money to be able to keep doing it is to have more listens and more shares. So I just started sharing the ones I liked. And then it went from doing it, every couple of days to every day to, being organized and having a list every day of this is what I'm listening to today, and then firing those out. And by doing that, I was getting more and more response from the podcast and the people in it and the poker community, who I just send things out and it gets shared like a ton of times. And that's where, that's how I got involved with Rec Poker. As I started listening, I saw some ones. I believe the first ones for Rec Poker I listened to were the initial book study you guys did with Jonathan Little. And I saw, that looks interesting. So I started listening to that. I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I went back through the catalog, and because it was more just interviews one-on-one with some players. So players that I knew, listened to those. Those are great. And then I saw some players I didn't know, listen to those. Great. And, just sharing it. And then Steve contacts me. And then next thing you know, I think I appeared on one with Gareth James a couple years ago, and go from there. And I don't have it on me right now, but I do have plenty of Rec Poker gear that I rep wherever I can.
Yeah, I've seen you in that in the red hat. I think that's a show with the white kernels there. That's a good looking one for Canadians like you and me. Yeah, spoiler alert: Chad lives about 2 hours west of me. We're the Canadian component on this episode of the podcast, although we have not met in real life. No. Like many of the folks here on the panel, yet, because we've got a beer in our future, Chad, one of these days soon.
Yes.
Yep. Excellent. There you go. Good man. And so I love this story of yours because, like so many of the people that we've had here on the show, you found something about poker that you loved, and you just started doing it, and you just did it really well, and you built a place for yourself in the poker world. And so. Yeah. And so how many podcasts would you say, how many different podcasts would you say you listen to in the course of like a week? And we don't have, I maybe just poker podcasts, because I know you also listen to some sports podcasts and some other good stuff out there too.
So in a typical week, poker podcasts, it's probably about 50.
Oh my God. Yeah. You get some great reactions from the panel. If people are listening to this, you should go and check out our YouTube channel so you can see some reactions.
Like certain shows have multiple episodes in a week. Like Brad Wilson's Chasing Poker Greatness puts out 3 or 4 episodes in a week. Mm-hmm. One guy that I am friends with, DJF, he's got his Sessions podcast. Actually, this is his shirt.
Nice.
And he's out 4 days a week.
Yeah.
So individual episodes, probably about 50 episodes a week. But I think the last time I checked, there was about 63 poker podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis that are currently active. There's a whole bunch that just pop in once a month or once whenever. But that's pretty much my list right now.
And present company accepted, of course. What are your top 3 poker podcasts? So, and I know some people might want something to do with strategy, and some people might want something to do with like the poker life. But if someone walked up to you on the street and said, "Hey, Chad, I'm a recreational poker player. I'd like to start listening to podcasts," what are the 3 that you'd recommend to them right off the top?
Okay, well, I was just talking about DJF, so I'd listen to Sessions. If you want to know what it is like to have poker as your regular grind, he was a high stakes player. He hit rock bottom, and he's working his way back up, and he puts out 4 episodes a week. 2 are behind a paywall, 2 are free. And that really shows his life and lifestyle. Chasing Poker Greatness with Brad Wilson. Again, he's got ones where he has Tactical Tuesday. He has an episode with one of his students, and they go over hands, either the hands they've played or hands they've seen on Poker Go, and take a solver approach and a coaching approach to it. He also does very in-depth interviews. The last one I listened to, he just did I think it was an hour-and-a-half interview with David Tuckman, and going over his poker commentating career and that. Great episode, and Brad does a great job, great content that comes out multiple times a week. As far as a third one, it doesn't come out as regularly, but when it is always great. The Chip Race with Dara and David Lappin. Now they've both been busy in Vegas. I believe they both left today. So I'm sure they will have plenty of new content to put out going forward. But there are so many others. Like, I've talked to Eric Dennis at the GPI for the Global Poker Awards, and said you can't have just one podcast award, because how can you compare, Weekly Poker Hand by Jonathan Little with Poker News? Or like, there has to be multiple awards. And he keeps saying, "Yeah, we're working on it," but we'll see. There's so many different types. You can't really just have a, one fits all. But like, just off the top of my head, like thinking poker with Andrew Brooks is a fantastic one, but where does that fit in, like, compared to others? And there are just so many. I'm afraid to list any more, because then others will feel that I've left them
Yes. Good answer. And I know, Chad, you actually have a professional relationship with some of these organizations. So Chad's actually the social media director for Rec Poker, and Chad really has taken us to the next level when it comes to getting the word out, helping us like formulate the messaging that we want to put out there. And obviously, you're a prolific social media user yourself. And I know you work with Card Player Lifestyle, isn't that right? With Robbie Straczynski?
Yeah, with Robbie. I do social media for his Poker Life Media Twitter handle and the Card Player Lifestyle Facebook page.
Nice.
As well as some other stuff. And then I've got a couple other ones that I kind of do behind the scenes stuff for. And I do quality control on another one who sends me the episodes ahead of time, and I go over, where there's little blips or sound cues or errors that I try to fix for them.
That's amazing. And I you always remind me of this interview we had with Kevin Mathers earlier this year, where again, just same kind of thing. He just had this part of poker that he really enjoyed, that he really had a passion for, that he had some skill with, and he's just turned it into a job. And not only that, but sort of some credibility and some validation in the poker world. I know when you do go down to Vegas, whether we get a chance to cross paths or not, you're like a celebrity down there. Everyone recognizes you, everybody wants to come and shake your hand and buy you a beer. And I mean, just kudos to you, man, for building all that together. And you're a talented guy. You're also just one of the nicest people that I've encountered in this arena. And so it looks good on you, bud.
Thank you. I just wish when I'm in Vegas that I had more chances to play poker. And the problem is, being where I live, there is no poker here.
Right.
I have 2 casinos within a 10-minute drive. Poker's closed.
Yep.
Seneca Casino across the river, which is again in the States, but it's 20 minutes away. Poker room's closed. Like, there is no live poker anywhere around me. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to drive to Montreal, or I'd have to fly to somewhere in the States to be able to play live poker, because I prefer live over online. I treat online more as a lesson, try things out. But I can never find myself taking it serious enough, unless, there's something like a competition, like, mixed game player of the year for Rec Poker or something. I gotta try that out. But I prefer live. I want to see my opponent. And for whatever reason, I seem to have a good ability to read people when I'm playing against them.
Nice. Well, yeah, Southern Ontario. I live in Southern Ontario as well. I'm on the other side of Toronto from Chad. There is kind of a dearth of live poker available right here. But Chad, if you do ever end up driving east to Montreal, you got to drive right past me on the highway. So I hope we can do a little carpooling, share some gas, something like that. Go cause a ruckus over at the playground.
Sure. I've never been there.
Oh, okay. Well, then it is a good spot. If you're in the Eastern Seaboard, if you're in Ontario or Quebec in Canada, you really should go over, check out the Playground Poker Club in just outside of Montreal. Yeah. Fantastic spot. Chris, did you have something you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, well, I have 2 questions. First one's a short one, but I'm just wondering, at what speed do you watch or listen to all these podcasts? 2 times?
2 times
speed. Okay. That's pretty, I mean, that's still, I thought it might even be higher than that, given the
I probably could. I've never tried. I got it to 2 times and I just left it at that. And that way I know I look at an hour episode, it's going to take me half an hour. Yeah.
Well, and so the second question I had is, you're such a fan of mixed games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, is there good? A lot of poker content really focuses on sort of the big daddy of No Limit Hold'em, and I'm wondering, is there any really good podcast content around mixed games?
No,
really, no. Just
You'll have like the odd episode of a show here or there. They'll talk about a certain game, but that is a big hole that someone should fill.
If you look over audience, because I would
look. If you look right here, there's a book by Dylan Lindy.
Yeah,
Mastering Mixed Games. Maybe he should do a podcast.
Hey.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would definitely listen to that, because it's a world that I kind of want to learn a lot more about, but I'm just so bad at all of the games that I don't even know where to start.
The fun part was like this last time in Vegas when Robbie had his mixed game festival at Westgate. Like I just put 3 straight days. Like I did 45 hours of mixed games, games I had never played, games people were just calling that no one knew anything about. They were just like, oh, we're going to do this. Like there was one, it was 777. It's a draw game where it's split 3 ways. High hand. The qualifier is trip 7s or better. The low hand, 7 or better. So 7 is qualifier, or 7 Badoogie. And I can tell you, out of all the times we played it, I think there was one time that it was a 3-way split. It generally was 1, if maybe 2 ways. But like the people are just making games, and it was awesome. We played another game, Omajack, which was a half Omaha, half blackjack.
So how does that, come on, tell us, how does that get played? How does that break down?
It's 5-card Omaha, so big O. And you have to make your best Omaha hand. And your remaining 3 cards are your blackjack hand.
I see. Cool.
So a river can really change what your hand's ends up being.
And so do you split the pot between who wins the Omaha hand and who wins the blackjack?
Correct.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome. Like, there were so many fun games, and like it was a room. We had 3 tables going, and like everyone was having a good time. And that's the difference between mixed games and No Limit Hold'em. Is there's no earphones in, hoodie, head down. It's everyone's talking. Oh, let's talk about this game. Oh, how did you play that? Like, and everyone was learning. The one night when we were playing, Greg Raymer was sitting across from me, and someone tries to explain a game, and Greg's like, maybe I could explain it better. And then it was really, Greg was teaching us all these games.
That's fantastic.
And it was awesome. And everyone had a great time. Everyone was smiling, having fun. Yeah, there was money won and lost, but it's a more fun environment in mixed games than it is in No Limit Hold'em.
And I'm a No Limit Hold'em guy myself, just like Chris. I haven't really gotten into mixed games enough, but everything I've heard confirms that is the case. That you just have more fun at the table playing mixed games, and that's reeling me in, man. Like that's my brand of poker right there. Like I love laughing around and chuckling it up with a bunch of people having fun. If you can win some money while you're at it, all the better. But you make a compelling case, Chad. I'm not gonna lie.
It also makes a difference. I mean, mixed games have no solvers.
Right.
So you start to learn a few basic rules, and obviously there are similarities. You know, when you have a split plat game or a low ball game or whatever, you're be able to share some of the concepts you learn. But part of the key is nobody is an expert at all of the games. So that allows everyone to delude themselves into thinking they have a better shot than they do.
So, John, are you saying that beginners are kind of giving up less of a skill edge in mixed games because they just haven't been perfected by the people that are playing them at the top, at the highest possible levels?
Well, part of it, so a lot of the mixed games are limit games, and limit has more variance in it just by design. So any given night, the caliber of player you are does not necessarily mean you are going to win or lose that much, because there's much more variance in limit. So I think that's one of the good things about it, is that it makes it harder to really understand how good or bad you are, which allows people to play and enjoy it because they think, hey, maybe I do have a shot in this. I know I haven't figured out I don't have a shot yet.
And with most mixed games being limit, you're not going to lose your whole stack in one hand. Like you can play it one hand badly and you still have plenty. Like, and that's where the whole learning, it's easier for new players to get in because you make a mistake in Hold'em and there's your buy-in.
Yeah.
In mix, you make one mistake in a mixed game. Oh, well, you learn your lesson and you keep playing.
That's a great point. And I see we've got some premium members in the chat here while we're recording this. So Kim, Stu, Dave, Martha, if any of you have any questions for Chad or you want to type any action in the chat, just go ahead there.
Kim was actually sitting beside me at one of those mixed games.
Oh,
at
really?
The West game.
Oh, fun. Yeah. I know. We overlap down there a little bit, and Kim and I actually play in a little league up here, trying to award a main event seat to one of us for next year. So, we'll all be rubbing elbows
Nice.
One of these days soon. Wouldn't that be nice? So, Chris mentioned going, listening to them at twice the speed. I get up to about 1.5 for my podcast, and then there's a little bit of a comprehension drop off for me after that. Even at twice the speed. So, Chad, all of us here are recreational poker players. You have an actual job, like most of us, and a family. Where do you find the time to actually absorb this information? Are you multitasking at work? You don't have to. We'll just bleep it out if you're saying, "Yeah, I always just listen to it through all my very important work meetings." That's okay. We'll just bleep that out. It's just between friends. But yeah, where do you get the time? How do you do it?
Well, it helps that my job is at a computer. I'm an accountant, and it's basically all solo work. So I can listen all day. An important work call or work meeting, I hit pause.
Yeah, nice. Because I know for a lot of people, it was like a commute kind of thing. And I know I had to listen. I had to demote some podcasts that I listened to regularly during the pandemic because I didn't have that commute anymore. And I found that I was having trouble finding those hours in the week to take it in. But that's great. So, and then does your wife work from home as well right now? Is it annoying for her to have all that going on in the background all the time? Because how does she feel about poker podcasts?
She doesn't listen to them. No, she works out of the home, but she's at a chiropractor's office, so she's there every day. But for myself, I'm home 3 days a week and in the office 2 days a week currently. And I always have them in my ears anyway, so she doesn't hear them.
There you go.
when she is home. And she plays a lot of spin and goes on Poker Stars, just the small ones, and enjoys that. And has played a little bit of live. One trip to Vegas, I had her out there, and she was playing a 2 to 6 spread limit hold'em, and quite enjoyed that because
nice.
Again, no one can go all in.
Right. Yeah, that's great.
But, yeah.
Chris.
Oh, I was going to ask about you talked about your beginnings of your in discovering sort of poker podcasts, but take us back a little further. Where does your interest in poker start, and what is that story behind how you got interested in even trying to find a poker podcast in the first place?
Well, poker started probably back in 2004. I was on a recreational baseball team, and a couple of the guys had a home game that they played and they ran. And I'm like, sure, try it. Hopped in. It was Friday night, and what happens to the newcomer? He wins the first week, right?
That's how we get the hook in you.
And 2004 also, I'm not sure if it affected you guys in the States as much as it did us in Canada. There was a little thing called an NHL lockout. Mm-hmm. So every sports network was looking for things to put on TV. And what did they put on? Poker. So, watching Greg Raymer win the 2004 main event was my, moneymaker thing. Not moneymaker, but watching Raymer, and then watching that. And then the next year, I think he went deep again. And that's what kind of got me into it. But then I got into a weekly Friday night poker game with some friends, and started playing from there. And then I think my first trip to Vegas was in 2007, and played a little bit of poker there in some of the smaller rooms, and did well. And 2009 was my first World Series that I went to. And that was the first time they did a $1,000 buy-in event.
Right.
So I played that, and I went really, really well until I flopped quads and lost. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a jackpot in some next to the wood.
Yeah. So there was I think there was like 6,000 players. We were down to 1,800, and I was 125th. And the guy across the table from me was 100th in chips. And
was it quad over quads, or did you lose to straight flush? Or
no, I was the big blind. Him and I had basically been avoiding each other the entire time because we were the big stacks and there's no need. And he, for the first time, raised big when I was the big blind. So it folds around to me. I look down at pocket fours and call. The flop comes 4-10-4. So I check. He bets. I re-raise. He re-raises. I re-raise. He jams. I call. He turns over pocket tens. 10 on the turn. Done.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah. I can I'm having a physiological response to that story right now.
So did you see that happen in the main event this year? That the quad over quads one?
Yeah.
That was a pretty similar situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was my first World Series experience in 2009.
Oh, delightful. But and somehow you kept coming back.
Well, I kept coming back, but I didn't play another World Series event again until I think it was 2016. I played 2 events. Mm-hmm. Didn't do well in either. And then this year I played an event. I played in the reunion, and I cashed that. So
nice.
So 4 events, 1 cash.
Yep.
In my lifetime.
Yep. That's actually a pretty good batting average compared to most of the people that I've spoken to. Now, free tip: you got to look for those asterisk tournaments. That's the clutch way to go down there and cash. Find one of those flip and goes or one of these other weird. I don't think that one quite qualifies as a mixed game. It's just it's just more of a gimmick. But yeah, you always gotta bum hunt the asterisk tournaments. Get that cash rate up. Well, that's cool. So where do you play? I know when before the world got turned upside down, you had two great casinos nearby and one right across the border.
Yeah.
Since then, have you played much live poker at all? Where have you gone to do it?
No. When my first hand of the reunion was the first hand of live poker I played since March of 2020. Mm-hmm. And there was we've got a local WBT league. It's not WPT, but it's like their feeder learning thing that was running. So I played with that. Yeah, it was every week. And they're just starting that up now again this week. So that'll be going again, where they what they do is they have different regions. They play events throughout the year, do series, and then the top people for that series play a tournament, and that gets them into this big event that's run in Vegas normally in July after the World Series is done. For what would be the equivalent of like a WPT 500. So you're playing for free at a bar. Nice. But for me, it's fun. A lot of the guys there are really amateurs. So the first year I played it. Yeah, as Kim said in the chat. Yeah, that's when I started. And then first year I played it, my goal was I'm going to win. I'm going to finish first. And in a 12-week series, after week 7, I had clinched first already.
Hey, there you go. Nice.
Okay. So then the next year I was like, okay, I'm going to now use it as practice. This week I'm going to try, work on my 3-betting and work on 4-bet and different things. And that's what I do. It's fun. And it gets out of the house. It's poker. And again, it's free. So you're not paying anything other than your time, but I would gladly use my time playing poker.
Yeah, you got that right. And I know you play in the Rec Poker home games. You're near the top of the leaderboard in our monthly mixed game series. Do you play online? You said earlier you kind of play online to practice a little bit, but it's not really what you enjoy as much about live poker. What other kind of games do you play online?
I play a little bit. I've played a little bit on Unibet and on PokerStars, and basically, if I have like a Saturday or Sunday where I can commit a section of hours, then I'll try to play in a tournament. Otherwise, I'll just play cash. And that's generally what I've always done over the years, and I've done better in is playing cash than tournaments. But I'm trying to get my tournament game better. And quite honestly, when I was playing the reunion, other than after 14 hours being exhausted, I was really confident in how I had played. And the people that you'd seen come in and out, like at one point, Matt Berkey was at my table. And like when I saw him coming over to sit in the empty seat, I'm like, oh no. And then after 3 hands, when I doubled him up because he had bought in short, I'm like, oh no. But then he was gone, and I was still playing. But yeah, no, and then at the end of the night, it was just I stopped getting hands, stopped getting, and my kings lose to ace 9, and my 7s lose to 6s, and it was just, that was it. But that was the first time I've really felt confident in my live tournament game, and I just can't wait to get back and play another one. Yeah,
you're one of many people that's got that bug. And I think now that live poker's getting back, and I really appreciated how much more fun I was having when I was down in Vegas playing live. Not that I didn't enjoy it before, but I think having it removed from our lives for a little while makes us appreciate it even more. So I also love playing cash. I know Rec Poker as a general rule has more of a tournament bent to a lot of its memberships. But what is it about cash and tournaments that sort of makes them different, or what is it about cash that you've preferred it up until recently? What philosophically, what's different about them?
I think cash has a more relaxed feel to it. Blinds don't go up. You're not in a rush. People don't seem to take forever to make decisions in cash games. It's, I'm just folding. Like there is no tank for 30 seconds to a minute to fold 6 deuce, like that we've seen on some of the World Series events. But it's more relaxed. You can pick and choose. And when I was playing, the other thing is you can pick what table you're playing on. So you can pick who you're playing against in a live cash setting, assuming there's more than one table. And what I would generally do in the past in Vegas is I'd go to certain casinos that had a good late night crowd, because people would sit down after having a few cocktails, and makes for a great game. You just make sure they're smiling and they'll keep giving you chips.
Yep.
And the other thing about cash is when it starts going bad, you can just get up and leave. Take your money and go. You can't do that in a tournament.
They frown upon it.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, cash, you can only win so much. Tournament has that lottery ticket feel to it where you can make that big score. Like as example, playing the reunion, I played 14 hours tournament poker and netted a $600 profit. The next night, I sat down at Westgate for a 1-2 cash game with $200. I left at 6 a.m. with $3,000. So, like, there's the difference. Less time, more money. But
you give up on that big multiplier score, that 1,000 times your buy-in. That your story checks out, sir. That makes sense to me. And so everyone out there, you got to just think about, like, what is it that you're trying to get out of it? Do you have a lifestyle where you can just kind of like sit down, play for a while, and then stand up and go? Maybe cash is better for you. I know that's one thing, especially in larger field tournaments, you really do have to commit, even if it's just online, you have to commit to being there for the entire time. And so it is a bit more of a grind, I think. People are kind of a little more stressed about it. We get a comment in the chat here from Kim saying, play cash and take your shot in tournaments every so often. Yeah, that's good advice. I've heard that too. Sort of build your bankroll in cash and then go blow it all chasing huge wins in the tournament series. That's
one common phrase I hear from poker players in Vegas is, Monday to Friday, you're grinding the cash games. Saturday and Sunday, you play the tournaments.
I think that's wise. And so much of poker that it's not a sexy part of poker, but a big part of people's edge is game selection and table selection and choosing, what stake, what room, what structure you're going to play in, finding one that's good for you. And even within tournaments, of course, there's a whole bunch of variety, from like satellites to progressive knockout bounties and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different playing styles and lifestyle needs that you can find different kinds of poker to play. And then when it comes to mixed games itself, Chad, I know they're not always as easy to find as the No Limit Hold'em game. So when you walk, how do you find good mixed games to play then? And I know like it's difficult right now, of course, but are there certain casinos that have okay. Yeah, that's about it. Huh?
If you're in Vegas, you go to the Orleans. They always have something going on, but during the World Series, you will find mixed games spread more. But for these casinos around here, you might find Omaha. That's about it. I think Seneca used to run stud, but they haven't done that in forever. But around here, there's nothing. I've been down to Atlantic City, and they have a couple stud games going as well, but it's really Hold'em and Omaha, and that's it. Right. So when you get big series, when you've got everyone going to Vegas in the summer, that's when you will find mixed games running. Because you have the poker community there. And so the smaller percentage of that poker community that like to play mixed games, the games will be offered.
Yep, that makes sense. And then I guess there's the last realm of poker that we could talk about here would be like underground games. Do you have any experience with that here in Canada, or do you have a chance to play some more mixed games when there's kind of like you're kind of building it around a particular clientele a different way?
When I lived in Toronto for a while, a few years back, and then
Chad and I just moved away from Toronto in different directions. Yeah. We're close enough to visit whenever we want, but we don't live in the city anymore.
But there was an underground game that I played in there until that was a game that you didn't want to be the last one to cash out, because there wouldn't be any cash. So it was a game where come in, play, get there early, and then as soon as you see the first couple of people leave, cash out and go. Because the guys running it were skimming off the top, and then whoever was last to leave, we owe you.
Right.
Never get paid. And then those guys eventually just, one time a bunch of us showed up for the game and the condo was empty. So we don't know where he went, but all his stuff was gone, the poker tables and everything.
So from what I understand, Toronto has a pretty kind of legendary underground poker scene, because there's no place you can actually play that's sort of sanctioned, right? But it's also a very big poker town, is what I've gathered through stories. So there's like a lot of underground games going on there, aren't there?
Yeah, and like back in the day, like you just go on like on Craigslist, and they'd have all the games listed. Call this guy, and he'll give you the address, type of thing. But yeah, there was no casino in Toronto. There's no poker room. Like they would have poker running at like the Exhibition, which is just like a summer festival for like a couple weeks span. But that was it. So you have to go somewhere else to play. But yeah, like there was plenty of meetup games or underground games, but you didn't know what you're walking into. And like you even hear some from the pros, like I think Negrano is famous for, making it up through the underground games in Toronto before going to Vegas the first time and then going from there. Like there are games to play. It's just, you don't know the safety. You don't know the legitimacy. Oh, well, quite frankly, they're all under the table, so they're all not legitimate. But like I said, just don't be the last one to cash it.
Yeah, and that's always the trade-off for these private games. You can't sort of vouch for the redundant security measures that they would have in place in the same way that a brick and mortar casino would. And I know, the rake might be an issue too from time to time, because they're, in some cases, I won't speak for all the poker clubs in Toronto, but yeah, there's like varying degrees of legitimacy, let's say. There's a spectrum. And, that is something that everyone's got to be factoring in when they go to play these games. And anytime you're thinking about carrying around wads of bills, security is going to be something that's relevant to you as well. John, did you have something to jump in with there?
Well, I was just going to say, I had always heard in the underground games, which I've never played in any, but that often the rake was just measured in handfuls. How many handfuls of chips did they take out of the pot?
The one game I played in particular, the guy running the game played in the game and dealt the game. So he's raking the pots right into his chip stack.
Oh,
totally. That seems totally like verifiable and accountable. That seems like totally on the level. Like
as he's
there's nothing that can go wrong there.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's funny, like people don't understand. Like I know the regulated poker rooms and poker clubs and floors, they have a lot of rules that we look at now and we think like, well, that seems to be like, there's no need for that level of rigor when it comes to some of these things. But that's only because it's been too long for us to remember all these angle shooters who are coming around ruining the games for people. A lot of those rules, even though they seem a little heavy-handed, hold the deck this way, you can't flash the bottom, you gotta the way that people touch their own chips and their cards and things like that. The rules are there because people are scummy. Yeah. There's a lot of poker players that are going to come out there and try and steal from the game, or to introduce a level of unfair play or competitive disadvantage to the other players there. And so when you are playing in these, let's call them private games, then you really are kind of trusting the host to how OCD are they going to be about some of this stuff. And yeah, generally it's one of those situations where it's a calibration question, right? Has anyone here that's been playing any game, have they felt like unsafe or felt like they were in a risky situation? Yeah, so we're picking our battles. Well, then Kim says in the chat, cash games are way more sketchy than tournaments, and I wonder if that's so. And you're like just poker clubs, I guess, Kim. You're just talking about places where you can come and play cash without a tournament structure. Because I know a lot of these tournament games end up having a cash table off to the side for people as they bust out, and those can be pretty good cash games too, from what I understand. But yeah. So, all right. Well, Chad, other than showing up to the game one week and finding that there was nothing there anymore, what was your best private game experience and your worst private game experience? And I'll give the members here in the crowd a chance to type in some more questions before we let you go tonight.
Okay, best experience. There's one private game, and it was on a Super Bowl, and the guy had a full spread set out. And he had said throughout the year that the rake he was taking was for events like this. But, the food was great, drinks are free, and then we played he decided that the cash game we were going to play was going to have much higher stakes this time, which was a little scary to start with, but ended up being pretty good for me. So I was fine with that. Nice. Worst one was, that game where the guy was dealing and, raking and all that. You just had to make sure he wasn't a good player, but he was a very lucky player. So he would play anything, but it always seemed to hit. So you just tried some people would go after him and it didn't work out. You just tried to avoid him. And then the one night he was completely plastered, but it's his game and he's dealing. And at one point he just threw the table over because he lost a big hand.
Oh my God.
How do you know who has what?
Right.
For chips. And I think that was one of the last times that game ran before all of a sudden it disappeared.
Yep. Yeah. Someone who's still learning the lessons of delegation.
Yeah. He also promised that a certain poker player was going to be coming to play and we should all buy into this guy's new system. And I don't know if I should mention that poker player's name, but he's not a pro anymore. He was known for bluffing Ivy on a big hand. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. I think some of our listeners might know who you're talking about. Excellent. Yep.
And that guy never showed up. But the guy running the game showed us printed emails that he had gotten from this guy that he was going to come play in the game.
Wow. There you go.
If we could guarantee a certain amount of money at the game.
I see. Yes. That's funny. John, I see you're unmuted. Did you have something to jump in with there?
Oh, no, I just forgot to mute after my last comment there.
Well, Kim in the chat says that only walking from the parking lot to the venue were safety issues. And yeah, again, that's something that, that's also going to be the case walking to and from the casino, of course, and things like that, just generally being savvy. And then I guess, people, if you are going to go and play in a private game, get references, don't just find one on Kijiji and decide to show up there. See if you can find someone that's played in the game before, maybe someone that's going to go with you that first time and get you introduced. And because, people will angle shoot in those circumstances, and people will definitely, the regulars are going to have some sway with the person running the game if you get up to a position where there's like a gray area or something. Security, and I don't mean security like getting mugged. I mean like game security, and the integrity of the game isn't going to be something that you can kind of take for granted in the same way. Kim says also that's more of an issue for women. So that's also very true. Yeah, great point, Kim.
Yeah, and with poker rooms, like casinos being shut down and everything over the last year, and poker rooms not coming back, that's just made a bigger ability for these underground games to run.
Yeah.
And like we saw with underground apps like that, there were so many poker apps that popped up where the rake was huge and they generally weren't all above board. That's where, you don't like paying the rake at a casino, but you get certain benefits of, security and, the law. So,
yep, that helps. And, the place isn't going to get busted while you're playing in it. Yeah. So that's nice. And, so there are. And
you could be the last guy going home, and you might even see some money.
That's a good one.
That's a nice benefit too.
Generally, if you are the last guy going home at a casino, that means you have all the chips.
Yeah, that means that's a much better deal.
I love it. All right, well, Chad, this is great. I always enjoy our opportunities to chat with you and learn something. I always learn something new about poker in Ontario or the World of Poker podcasts every time we talk. Where can people reach you on Twitter? I know that's your main platform. Yep. And are there other ways that you like people to reach out? Let's just start with that, and then we'll wrap up.
On Twitter, it's Veaner85, so it's VEANER, and the number is 85. Facebook, I believe I am the only Chad McVean on Facebook. So that should be easy to find. And I'm sure I'm elsewhere, but who knows? Those are the only things that I look at.
Veaner85 is where I know him. And if anyone out there is listening, I think it's time to create a bunch of fake Facebook accounts and other Chad McVeans now, because he's kind of put it out there that he's the only one. So let's flood Facebook with some fake Chad McVean accounts. That would be a lot of fun to see how that works out. And I think we'll just keep. And I do want to encourage everybody. I'm serious about this. Follow Chad on Twitter, because he sends out so much information about and there's a lot of ways to learn poker other than poker podcasts, but poker podcasts, there's a lot of good ones out there. There's ones that talk about the lifestyle of poker. There's ones that talk about poker strategy. There's ones that talk about the community itself, or ones like ours that are kind of based around our own community. And there's just a lot. You will get better as a poker player if you follow Veaner85 on Twitter. So I encourage everyone to do that.
Also, if you use Spotify, every morning I tweet out a playlist of those episodes for that day. So you can just click on that and you've got the list there for the day of Amazing. The poker podcast.
And then you also share a bunch of, and just before we let you go, you also share a bunch of sports podcasts and that kind of stuff as well. And you've got these great playlists. So, and a lot of that information, people can just go to your bio and find links to some of that stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a huge hockey fan, football and that. So any sports related stuff that I listen to, I also put into a playlist. I listed as my other playlist.
Yeah. Well, it's impressive, man. And Chad also enjoys beer. So if anyone wants to buy him a bottle or a can or a pack, that one looks good. What is it? The what Reaper? The Creeper Reaper.
It was the Halloween special for Nickelbrook Brewery.
There you go. Yes, gotta shout them out. Shout out Nickelbrook,
Burlington, Ontario,
and you get it in that Minnesota purple too. So you're really catering to the crowd here.
And thanks to Minnesota for helping win a bet this weekend. I appreciate that.
Oh,
I bet on Minnesota. I wasn't too sure, but
they pulled it out. Yep, it was a good weekend for anyone that wasn't rooting for the Steelers. All right, so
I just have one more thing. Now that you're almost done. Don't they actually, this is in relation to hockey and beer. Mm-hmm. If you don't like both of those things, don't they kick you out of Canada these days?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do.
Okay. So
you're okay with one, but if you don't like either, they send you to Minnesota.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, we're not going to find a better note than that. So I'll see if our friend Jonathan Little has anything to say, and then we'll come on back at the top of the show.
Have you ever wondered whether you should call a preflop raise or 3-bet instead? What do you do when you have a flush draw? Do you raise it, or do you just call? What do you do with ace-king when you miss the flop? Are you tired of guessing about what the right play is with your particular hand? Well, my name is Jonathan Little, and I am a 2-time World Poker Tour champion and creator of PokerCoaching.com, where we offer over 1,000 interactive hand quizzes where you play a hand and then get real-time feedback from our world-class pros. Don't guess and don't stress. Just register for your free account at PokerCoaching.com/recpoker right now.
I would do it, folks. Head over to PokerCoaching.com/recpoker and check out that money-back guarantee from the one and only Jonathan Little. I don't think we mentioned how cool it is that Jonathan Little sponsors this podcast. Hats off to Steve Fredland for creating this just wonderful network of generous, kind poker professionals that we really rely on here at Rec Poker, whether it's Jonathan Little's support on the podcast, people like Daro Carney contributing to our monthly membership seminar. There's just so many people that help us out here in every way. Ryan LaPlante and Matt Berkey, who are putting Learning with Partners material out for us. James Splitsuit Sweeney. And I mean, I like Chad, I should stop mentioning names because I'll come up with a few that I should have. But it takes a village. And it's one of the things that I like most about Rec Poker is this place where we can come and share our ideas with some of the brightest lights in poker today. So, all right, gang. Well, we've got the interview out of the way. We got the Jonathan Little message through. We're in the community happenings portion of the podcast. And when this comes out, it'll be Tuesday the 29th. So it'll be Tuesday the 30th because that's how dates work. And it will be, there will be 1 month left in the year 2021. So that means there's going to be one more first Wednesday of the month to sign up for our monthly No Limit Hold'em series. There's going to be one more second Wednesday of the month to sign up for our mixed game series. There's going to be one more third Saturday of December to sign. I think it's the third one, John. Is that right? The 18th?
Correct.
To sign up for our heads up match. And those are just the home games. And we're also going to have a seminar, the book study, our focus sessions, our study groups on Saturday. We've also got all sorts of cool stuff happening. Taylor Moss is doing the Thursday night stream. We've got some great new members of the Wrecking Crew putting their own programs together. Eric Peel, Eric Gin runs the Peel every Thursday night. Tim Fritz, Misclick Donkey, is doing a Sunday morning warm up. I know Kim Pet Vet Kilroy every other Tuesday has either a strategy discussion or a community conversation about empowerment in the world of poker. There's just a lot of fun stuff going on over here. As soon as we hang up this call, we're going to go record a couple episodes of the forums edition of the podcast, and premium members are welcome to come and join any of that. So don't be a stranger here at Rec Poker. And just like Chad, if you create a space for yourself in the poker world. The poker world will be accommodating, and Lord knows we need a lot of help. So by all means, get involved. Get involved. Write me an email, jim@rec.poker, and say, hey, Jim, this is something I'd like to do more of. I'm pretty sure we're going to find a way to help you do it. John?
Yeah, you covered almost all of the upcoming events except for two important ones, which are the TOC. So there's, of course, going to be one more Tournament of Champions for our daily series, and we will have the Tournament of Champions for the No Limit Hold'em Championship Series. So if you won a tournament on the first Wednesday of the month, anytime this year, you have earned a right to be in that series. In addition, we will use the points to fill out the table till we have 18 players. So if you're in the top of the points or you've won a tournament, you'll be eligible to play in the Tournament of Champions on December 15th for the No Limit Hold'em Championship Series. And with that, we missed a thing last week, so we have 2 weeks to go through. So we'll get going here. The Mixed Game Championship Series, Limit Deuce to 7 Triple Draw, Glass Jaw, David Schoen won his very first Mixed Game Series. On the Daily Series, Tournament of Champions, Type Login, Joseph Foss won that, and in a very impressive manner. Sweet.
We're going to be reviewing his play in the online review and hang later this week, where we all get together. And that's not just for premium members. If you make the final table of the Tournament of Champions, you're invited to come and review your play in the final table. We go hand by hand, street by street, talking about everyone's action. We all get better together. It's a lot of fun. So you can join us for that one too.
Then Salty, 1714, Mitzi Stanley won her first nightly series event. Keck Geek 65, Jacob Kiki won his 12th nightly series event, and I think that's probably number 19.
I think it's 19. Yeah, I think you're right.
For the year, and he's the one who called his shot and said he was going to win 20 rec poker tournaments this year.
Unbelievable.
And he's still got another month to finish that off.
He's on pace.
Yep. Captain Walleye, Rob Ansem, got his 5th nightly series victory for the year. GF Hawk, Eric Romo also got his 5th. Dan W., Dan Wick got his 2nd nightly victory.
Look at all these crushers. Eric, Dan, way to go, guys. This is fantastic.
Hunter Hawes, or Hunter H. 1017 Hunter Hawes got his 2nd daily mixed victory for the year. Kelly S. 1962-20, Kelly Stork got her 3rd international series victory. M. Babker, Michael Babker, got his 3rd international victory. Poker Cat 36, Naomi Pizzol won the daily LPP tournament. And you can contact Jim at rec.poker for your free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Yeah, how cool is that? So anyone who wins our free tournament on Sunday gets a free month at Learn Pro Poker. And actually, Naomi already reached out to me. So she's obviously a listener. She knows the drill. And I have sent her her free month at LPP. So look out. Poker Cat 36 is going to be going on a tear soon, folks. She's going to have some great new information from Learn Pro Poker that she can use to win even more of these Rec Poker home games. Oh, boy.
And now that you thought we were done, we're on to the second week. So Fancy Nancy 1130, Nancy Peschel got her 2nd nightly victory for the year. Bruce K 45, Bruce got his 1st nightly victory for the year. Keck Geek, this is Keck Geek Senior, Mark Kiki got his 5th nightly victory for the year. John Lancer, John Bensky got his 2nd for the year. Soares Gaucho, Julio Soares got his 1st nightly victory for the year. And then Ted Philip Fuhrer got his 7th nightly victory for the year. Denny 6966, Dennis Andrews got his 1st daily mix victory for the year. Roz Quarto got her 1st international victory for the year. And Jasper Jr. Patrick Berry got his 5th. Now, that should also be noticed that Roz came in 2nd. So she won her first one at 9 a.m. and then came in 2nd place at the 2 p.m. tournament.
Wow.
And now Uncle Tom's Cabin, Jeff S., got his 4th LPP victory. That means he has won 4 months worth of training at Learn Pro Poker. All he needs to do is just send a message to Jim at rec.poker, and he will get his 4th free month at Learn Pro Poker.
Wow. I think Jeff, is it Jeff that you said was on a roll there at the end? That's the 4th one he's won?
Yep.
I think Jeff's going to have to start. I run this monthly Learn Pro Poker study group on I think it's the 4th Saturday of the month at 1:00 Eastern. We're going to have to get Jeff to start leading that. He's going to be very familiar with the Learn Pro Poker material by the time he's through all that. Way to go, Jeff. That's phenomenal. And Jeff, I don't think I have emailed you 4 times. So please do send me that email, jim@rec.poker, and let's get you on the Learn Pro Poker learning train, man. You will love what Ryan LaPlante and the crew has going over there. All right. Well, that's pretty phenomenal. Nice work, John. It's and it's great. We see some of these names coming up here again and again. I want to reinforce to people that, every night we get between 60 and 80 players playing in this home game. So it's not like there's just the same 18 people playing every time. And that's why you see some of these names. Some of these people are just excellent poker players. And I think it's fair to say that we're running out of soft seats in the Rec Poker home game. Everyone's come a long way since they started. And I love the way that we all help each other learn in the chat while we're going and encourage each other. There's always people writing forum posts about the play in the home game. It's a great way to come and play for free and experiment and try new things. And just know that no one's going to, berate you or be mean or ungenerous with their comments, because we're all trying to learn together. So that's what it takes. So that's the home game wrap. Rob, we're working our way through Michael Acevedo's Modern Poker Theory, and you've been doing a kick-ass job every 2 weeks on Wednesday nights, leading the panel through the conversation. What did we work on last week, and what are we getting up to next?
We started on the post-flop part of the book.
Baby.
And we've only been doing this since March. So, we're just barely covering the surface here.
That's a good 6 months of pre-flop. It is. I mean, if people don't know, it's this is the book Modern Poker Theory by Michael Acevedo. It's pretty rich. It's pretty rich material. There's a lot of charts and graphs, and it's not something you want to take on by yourself. So Rob's been doing a great job with the rest of the gang, breaking it down into bite-sized chunks that you can absorb session by session.
So when you hear this, will be the next day, December 1st would be our next session. We'll be continuing talking about continuation betting on the flop. So, and that I think we're going to get close to being done by the end of the year, but we might sneak into January a little bit because we are getting towards the end. We'll get done with the post-flop C betting on the flop, and then we go right into the end game portion of it. So we'll see what happens there.
Nice. And then Michael's going to come and do a Q&A with you and the rest of the members of the group when we do finally finish the book. So that's going to be great. Because I know people have had a lot of questions that they've been recording off on the side as they go, and just to be able to pick his brain about the book like that is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'll have a lot of questions myself. So I'll be probably going out to the community to see, give me the things that you want to ask so we can kind of have it all ready to go when we sit down and talk to him, because I know there's going to be a lot of information coming from this man.
Yeah. Yep. And a lot of great analysis and interpretation too, because that's part of the problem with this, is that there's this great abstract knowledge, and part of it's just translating it, interpreting it in a way that recreational players like us can put it to use. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I guess we should start thinking about what the next book is going to be too. So we can.
Yeah, we'll worry about that in January.
Yeah, that's good.
We got plenty to keep us busy till then.
Speaking of plenty of things keeping us busy, I keep hijacking the conversation here a little. I'm also excited to announce that Gareth James is going to be getting more involved with Rec Poker. And I think by the time this comes out, we should have all the details ironed out. But I mentioned earlier, we have this monthly study group with Learn Pro Poker on the fourth Saturday of every month, dealing with exclusive training material from them. Starting in December, we're also going to be working with Gareth every month. He's going to come in and do a monthly check-in kind of study group Q&A based on a particular training video that he releases to Rec Poker members earlier in the month. So the first one's going to be playing the flop in position. And it's going to be all theory about playing the flop in position from the standpoint of being like a late position open raiser that gets called from the blinds. So we're going to find a lot
exactly what we're talking about right now in the Modern Poker Theory book. That's right where we are.
That's what made me think. I was like, oh yeah, we got to talk about that. So by the time you hear this, there will be a chance to come out and join the first one of those study groups with Gareth. And of course, you can watch all the past episodes. We've got a great archive at Rec Poker that all the premium members can look back. You can see all the different book study episodes we've done with Rob, not just for Michael Acevedo's Modern Poker Theory, but also all sorts of other great books that we've looked at over the years. Matt Matros, Chris Fox Wallace, Andrew Brokus, Jonathan Little, just to name a few. So do check that out. And I can't wait to get started with Gareth on some of this stuff too. Chris, you are the member content director. You have been keeping us occupied with a seminar every month and then also the focus every month. And the seminar that we're doing, it'll just have been recorded when people can hear this, but the video will be coming out the following week. What do we have on tap for that?
Yeah, we're going to, Taylor Moss is going to join us. He's going to kind of, who? I don't know. Sorry. Taylor, I'm the mixed game leader right now, Moss.
That Taylor Moss. Yes, that makes more sense. Now I understand.
So he's going to be joining us. He's going to kind of lead the conversation in the booth. He's going to help me out because PKOs are not something that I profess to know all that much about. So he's going to help me put together some of the content after the fact as well. And we're going to try to simulate a PKO in our Poker Now play. So the players that come will be getting their chips as they normally do. We'll be setting up a scenario for them, but we'll also be sort of tracking. It's going to be a little bit of a kind of wonky, but we're going to have like a Google spreadsheet sort of like that everyone can share and see. And we'll be tracking how many bounties are on each person. And sort of sharing that with the crowd. So people will sort of have that information and be able to play as if this was an actual PKO where you are, it's a progressive knockout tournament, if that is terms meaningless to you, where you're not only playing for prize money, but you're playing for bounties on people's heads. And the more people they knock out, the higher the bounty gets on them. And so we'll be examining it. It leads to some different styles of play. And I'm really excited for it because it's a kind of a format that is really taking over in online formats. And I think it's a good one to know. How do we adjust our play style when we're in these spots?
And if people aren't familiar with the format of the seminar itself, so Poker Now is this fantastic free software that lets you play poker with your friends, and it's got like built-in webcam and mic access, so it's a very social experience. And so what we do, Chris simulates these playing circumstances. We get usually 7 to 9 premium members that sort of rotate through the player pool here. Sometimes we could have put a couple plants in there too, but mostly it's premium members playing against each other in this kind of contrived circumstance. And then Chris does an analysis with Dara O'Carney. And every month, Dara reviews one spot that these premium members played against each other and gives them some personalized feedback for how they might improve their game. Dara has actually literally written the book on progressive knockout play. Right. So I think anyone who's able to take advantage in the membership seminar would get a great opportunity to learn from some of the best in the game. So I hope.
It'll be a really nice way to sort of bring all that content together. We'll give him a spot. The feedback he's given us in the past months. If you haven't seen it and you're a premium member, you should go back and look because there's some really great breakdowns of ICM spots. We did a final table last month, which I thought his analysis of that was really great, and it's really worth listening to.
Yes, and it's worth
skip all the mumbo, like me just talking. Skip the Chris Jones part and get to the Daro Curdy stuff because it's really good.
Yeah, that's right. And if you sign up using the code RECPOKER, you can get your first month of premium membership for only $5. So honestly, folks, put $5 down for the month of December and just watch all these great videos that we've got from Dara and Chris and some of our other learning partners, and participate in the sessions. We have kind of a core group of premium members that do participate, and no one human could participate in everything Rec Poker does. Even Steve and I only make half the sessions or something like that. But everyone's got their own area of expertise, and everyone's got their own way to share that love of poker with the world. So come on, for $5, I guarantee you're not going to find better value than that in the poker world when it comes to community, fun, and learning in an encouraging and positive way. Well, I want to thank Kim, Stu, Martha, and Dave. Is there any other? We've still got Chad here. Is there anything else we should say to the man before we let him go, or are we just going to roll those credits? Of course, I have to thank. Oh yeah, Chad.
You introduced Taylor, but you forgot the next one is going to be the second place next game player of the year.
Yeah, there you go. I love it because we got some mixed game shooters here. We got some mixed game shooters here in the house. And I guess we also should just say the words Mike Patrick, because you can't really talk about the mixed game series here without mentioning Mike Patrick. But I think, yeah, that's right. Yes, previous Rec Poker mixed game series winner. That's right. But well, good luck with that, Chad. I know you're near the top of the leaderboard there. We got one more month to cement your place, get to that crown.
That's the plan.
Nice.
Currently sitting third, so
okay.
Change that 3 into a 1.
Yep.
Taylor can take second, and Michael just moved down to third. It's fine.
That seems perfectly reasonable to me. That they'd kind of have to be jerks not to go along with that. I think that just seems
it's just fair.
Yeah, that's just math.
Yes.
Just math.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chad. And of course, Chris and Rob and John for making this such a fun and easy job to do. And Website Amp and Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. See y'all next time, folks.